Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hey, and we
Hi,
are here. Hey, Lily, how you doing?
good. How about yourself?
I am doing awesome, except that I got like this whole flashing thing behind me. It's kind of like a party.
Right, it's Saturday.
It is. It's a Saturday watch party, and for those of you out there in Facebook, I hope that you are gonna get really excited because today we are going to be talking about. Well, actually, not us. We've got some three super awesome experts, global experts, that are going to talk about how safety is going to be affecting the global culture. I mean, you're in a company and, normally like all the safety precautions, those were reserved for hazardous companies, petrochemical, oil and gas, all these kinds of things, right? But not anymore, because now we're in the new normal and everybody's looking into safety, and these guys have the skinny on the whole thing.
Yes, exactly. And we have three speakers lined up. The first is Kevin Interval, and then we have Peter Kidd, and lastly we have Gopala Ponusami. Right, and they are really the experts in this industry. So, Arthur, tell me, what do you think of this behavioral-based safety? Exactly, right now we are in the COVID-19 situation.
Okay, well, see, behavior-based safety is basically a fancy word for having people basically have or think about and have a safety attitude in their organizational culture. I mean, that's basically what it's all about, right? Okay, and and right now, because of the whole COVID thing, I mean, that's the thing. That's the new part of what's going to happen and how people are going to be interacting with each other, and all of that is going to be affected very specifically, across different organizations. I mean, organizations that never thought they had to deal with it are now going to have to basically deal with it.
Exactly. And now, right, in the new normal, right, people talk about SOPs. People talk about wearing masks well, in Malaysia, the government has made it mandatory that everybody has to wear a mask when they go out now, right? So really, is people practicing that seriously? And everywhere that you go, you have to, scan and write down your temperature and all that. Well, at least in my area in Kuala Lumpur, people are doing it. How about your place? How about other places? Are
Well,
people really serious about it?
I mean, when we go out here, because I am in Bali, and when we go out, you definitely see everybody wearing masks. But I mean, then you got like these demonstrations in the UK and America where basically people are revolting, no masks because we want to be free, and that has caused a few problems because apparently, like, there's a few people that have COVID that go into these groups and infect all the people. But hey,
Exactly.
they're free at least to, whatever happens, right? But it's kind of a difficult thing because you still have the sense of where, people's freedoms. I mean, people definitely need to have that sense of freedom, but at the same time, you're trying to protect the public. And in some cases, the government may go a little overboard or underboard. I mean, it depends on which one. Trying to figure this out, because this is, the last time that we had anything of this nature was the Spanish flu, and it didn't even start in Spain.
Okay.
And that was like 100 years ago. It was literally
Yeah.
100 years ago. And we didn't have the internet, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have, and we didn't even have that many rights as things. But now everybody's got all this information, and they choose to basically go for whatever information they want. I mean, there's the information about conspiracies, there's the information about actual science, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and people are going to make decisions. And at the end of the day, it's still going to be up to the organizations in order to determine how they want their employees or how their employees are going to need to deal with it. What are the cultures they're going to need to build? And if an employee doesn't feel that or feels their rights are imposed on, an employer will now have new options to basically say, well, if you don't want to follow our protocols for the safety of everyone, then you can't work here, kind of thing, right? And there's going to be all these regulations. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that never existed before, because right now we're protecting employees. You know, you can't be fired for this, you can't be fired for that. But you know, what's going to happen? I mean, and I'm not really one to talk about this, because the three speakers that are on today, they're the ones that are the true experts in what is called behavior-based safety, or the creation of safety cultures in order to protect the people within the organizations, and how that's going to work, okay, without infringing on people's rights.
Yes, exactly. Come, let's let's introduce the first speaker. He is Kevin Interval. He's the CEO of P2P and Bridget Group in Malaysia, in South Africa, and he has really very diverse experience. Shall we bring Mr. Kevin Interval on board?
Let's bring him on! Yay!
Hi Lily, hi Arthur, how are you guys doing?
We are
great.
Awesome.
Welcome. Really glad to have you here.
And I can't wait to share my goods with everybody who's watching.
Wow. Okay. Come. So Kevin, you're gonna share with us. Just give us in 2 sentences, what's your contents about?
I'm going to be talking about the iron triangle in BBS. Is something I developed quite a while ago. We're going to look at strategic schizophrenia based on a model. We're going to look at risk appetite and Arthur Kumar's emotional drivers. And then we're going to look at something called production in this 19 situation that we're sitting in. And as organizations, leaders, and teams, how do we need to put together so that we're creating congruency? And we actually focus on what matters until we get through this thing.
Okay, good. So thank you, Kevin. Please take the show. Kevin, it's all for you.
All right. Okay. Arthur, ladies and gentlemen, and Lily, thank you very much for the introduction. As said, my presentation is focusing on behavioral-based safety based on the iron triangle, which I developed a way back. And I've got a couple of case studies and things that I'm throwing into this. I've been doing a huge amount of consulting around the world. I'm a professional facilitator. And of 1,077 people in 39 companies, now I went and dug in my box of bones, and only 13 people could recite their vision, mission, and values, and only about 20% understood the real meaning. And that is the organization's vision, the mission, the core values that are stated on websites and stuck up against the walls in offices, etc. And it's very interesting when you start asking people out in the field, what is your vision and what is your mission? It's almost, people remember bits and pieces of it. And if that is the case, then, do we really understand, or do people understand the strategic intent of their business? Now, if you look at COVID-19 pandemic on top of us now, is our strategy still stable? The strategies we developed 2-3 years ago, or the session we had 3 months ago, 6 months ago, does the strategy have to change? I think it does, and this presentation will talk about it. Okay, my name's Kevin Infeld. I'm a soldier by first occupation. I then spent 14 years in the mining industry, and then I decided to work for myself and run a couple of companies around the world. The treasures, the takeouts of my presentation today is the appreciation of the iron triangle, the behavior-based safety iron triangle, strategic framing, strategic incongruence. I'm going to get you into a little bit of a case study that I worked on, a project that I worked on. We're going to look at that risk appetite, emotional drivers, and production push. And then there's BBS takeaways at the end. Okay, so what is this behavioral-based safety iron triangle that I'm talking about. Something I developed a number of years ago and refined. As I've been working with mining clients around the world, we're doing a lot of facilitation sessions in terms of strategy and safety programs and safety initiatives around the world. And what I've seen in organizations is a huge amount, or not every organization, but many of them, incongruency between top management and the so-called workers. And then the individual risk appetite. We're seeing individuals with that have a huge appetite for risk, and those that are risk averse. Dealing with these people and incongruency, we get a strange mix happening in terms of what lies in our safety horizon, or on our safety horizon. And then the anomaly of production push. Now, I've been a production manager for many years, and balancing production, balancing safety, balancing what the business wants me to do. And sometimes it's very difficult to make the decision around what comes first when you put into the hot spot. And that's going to come through in the presentation. So just very quickly, I'm sure you all know this stuff anyway, but just to make sure that we're all on the same wavelength is, what are the objectives? Arthur did a comment on it now. And it's a safety partnership. It's a process. It's not something that happens once. It's something that happens all the time. I think failures of these initiatives is because it's not seen as a process. It's almost like a once-off event, and we're going to have a big hoorah, and everybody's going to get a T-shirt and a jacket, and now we're all going to behave safely. It's not that. It's a process. It's continuous. It's hard work. And it's a partnership between management and the employees of a business. It's the strategists, the people that drive the business, and the people that make the business churn, our employees. It's a partnership. And if we don't have a partnership, we have incongruence, which we're going to look at now. And it's daily safety behavior. It's not what we're going to be reporting at the end of the month. It's not about KPIs at the end of the year. It's about measuring ourselves every single day, every single hour, and watching each other's back. That's the behavior that BDS needs to instill. And we see organizations are doing well, and organizations repeating initiatives over and over. However, wheel spinning with the same old sad story, and the organization sometimes doesn't believe in the next initiative that's been put on the table by management. How many more of these things do we have to deal with? So what is BDS? It focuses on what people do and analyzes through research, scientific research and clinical research and psychology research to put strategic interventions in place to improve behavior. And behavior should improve safety and health and the things that strap around our organization strategy with regards to safety and the other things that we look at. Now, strategy. As I said, I do a lot of strategy facilitation, lots of organizations, and let's just look at the basic definition of strategy. It's a detailed plan for achieving success in situations as well. Politics, obviously, with business, industry, or sport, or the skill of planning for such situations. So every organization has a strategy, which is made up of vision, mission, underlying core values, and many other things. When we most probably need a magnifying glass to try and see all the fine print. But anyway, what is schizophrenia? It's a combination of hallucinations, delusions, and extremely disorientated thinking and behavior that impairs daily functioning and can be disabling. If we take strategy and schizophrenia and we couple them together from a business context, I see a lot of strategic schizophrenia in organizations. And if we look at strategy framing, and I want you to look at the slide. I know it's a bit wordy on the one side, but don't worry. I want to look at people. Now, aren't people, our workers, our employees, our most important asset? I see it everywhere. On these charts up against the walls and on websites, and on T-shirts and all of these wonderful things. And I've gone and researched, and I've gone and pulled out 3 strategic statements. And one of them are one of the top companies in the world. The first one, let's just have a look at it. Our vision is to be the world's most valued gold mining business by finding and developing and owning best assets with the best people to deliver sustainable returns for our owners and partners. Well, if you look at what's priority in that strategic statement is assets. Priority 2, people. Priority 3, sustainable returns. Let's go and have a look at the second one. And this is what big companies on their websites. To be the #1 global natural resource company in creating long-term value through excellence and passion for people and the planet. Priority 1, natural resources. Priority 2, long-term value. Priority 3, people. Third one, be the global leader in supporting our customers' missions, strengthening security and advancing scientific discovery. Priority #1, customers. Priority #2, security. Priority #3, scientific discovery. So where's the people in that one? And if people are our most important assets, why are they coming second and third in our strategic statements on those companies that I've looked at? And go and research many of these strategies on websites, etc. And you will recognize a pattern, which I'm going to explain to you now. So if we look at strategic framing, now this is a client that I worked with not too long ago. And this was their strategic statement. It was actually in their mission statement. And this is what it said. Through quality and quantity and efficient processes, we will produce 12,500 tons of high-grade zinc per month with empowered people and in a safe and sustainable manner. All right. So where does people lie in terms of the order here? Well, second last. We did a framing session with this organization and their executives and a fantastic bunch of people. And this is what we ultimately came out, and it still sticks with the organization today. Through empowered people and efficient processes, we will produce 12,500 tons of high-grade zinc per month or per annum in a safe and sustainable manner. Now, moving forward with our organizations and the issue of COVID-19, we cannot allow incongruency to take place in our organizations. And incongruency is the non-verbal behavior that contradicts a person's words. Our top management make it the rules that our employees, our people, our staff, our labor, the different terms that we use in organizations. And if we far apart from each other, management sets all of these rules, and they spend a lot of time setting up all of these rules. If the workers don't follow these rules and don't understand them, we get the incongruence. And with COVID-19, now we don't know when this thing is going to go away. There could be others on its way. We don't know. Arthur alluded to it as well, where there's so much stuff happening on social media. Before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, we should stop calling people workers. We should stop calling people employers, employees, laborers. We should be calling them our most important asset. And they should be written in our strategic statements. They should be used in conversations. We should not be calling people workers, employees, laborers. They're our most important asset, which includes leadership as well. All right, case study. A client of mine in 2011, I'm not mentioning companies' names for protection of information, but it was a very, very interesting program, portfolio. And it was called Project 1M, Safe Production Management. Gold mining concern. And the project, the one project that I was managing with my managing director, was called Project 1M, 1 meter face advance. So just think of yourself underground in a big hole, and we're busy mining, so we need to get the ore body out of the ground safely. The organization wanted to gain 1 meter extra per blast to increase production, because they weren't making the profits that they planned in terms of the business plan. So SPM, Safe Production Management, was born, and Project 1M was one of. And it was launched because of the steep rise in fatalities, high rate of absenteeism in the organization, production losses, which obviously create financial losses in the business. Now, that picture you see in front of you is a prioritization matrix that was developed for this organization. And it looked at all of the initiatives, all of the safety initiatives, all of the health initiatives, everything that was happening in the business. And we realized that there was too much that the organization was trying to achieve in terms of attaining its target numbers in terms of its safety and health. What we did is we funneled their pipeline. We took the burden out of their pipeline, and we focused on what was important at that point in time for the organization strategically. And I want you to keep in the back of your mind COVID-19. This is what every organization needs to do right now. We need to prioritize around our strategy what makes us sustainable, what's going to keep us profitable, and what is going to keep our most important assets in the game with COVID-19 in our face. We don't know when this thing is going to go away, and we're going to manage. We have to manage through it and around it. The only way that we can do this is through prioritizing strategically. We cannot allow ourselves to be in strategic schizophrenia. We have to prioritize effectively. Otherwise, COVID is not only going to create safety issues, it's going to create sustainability issues, and people lose their jobs. And we see that already happening. So, in Project 1M, the 1 meter face advance, we launched a number of sub-projects, and I'm going to take you through them quickly from a case study perspective. Now, the first sub-project was an undertaking by the organization to do risk profiling on all of their most important assets. And it was very interesting that 76% of the population were found to be risk prone. Well, now the question is, you're working in the mining industry, in a mine, 2.5, 3 kilometers underground. Well, you're going to go and ask anybody if they want to work underground or not. And those that want to work underground are risk prone. They're not risk averse. Now, Arthur and Lily were talking about COVID-19 and people walking around without masks, and some people walking with masks. Well, you know, those that aren't walking with masks, are they risk averse? Are they risk prone? I don't know, maybe risk prone. Won't happen to me. And that's a behavior thing. You know? Well, it's not going to happen to me. It'll happen to somebody else until it happens to me. You know, then I'll deal with it. It's maybe not good behavior in terms of looking after our health and ourselves, and especially those around us as well. The other sub-project too was 24 hours in the life of my employee. So it was called My Employee. We call it our most important asset if I was there again. And what was interesting was through the analysis, it was the population sample again of the most important assets. And what the outcome was, 87% of the employees, and I'm going to call it that because that's what it was called then, had less than 4 hours sleep per day, had on average 1 meal a day, no light at home, children at home, and on average only visited their families once a year, and also financially. Now, I just want you to think of this. Now, think of an individual like that today, and now having COVID-19 as an extra burden on their shoulders. Now, how do we expect as leaders for somebody to practice safety, to behave safely, when they are risk prone, and secondly, having 4 hours sleep per day and not eating a meal? So, project number 3. So again, as we took a population of the organization, and we then did an exercise, a creative exercise. We actually got a sketch artist in, and he drew how the organization sees top management. So it was a facilitative session and scribing and drawing up on charts and all that. It was very, very interesting what came out, and just watch the pictures. So it was a dark person in a black cloak with a long black Mercedes next to the person, with a whole lot of books. And when we did the exercise, the the people were saying there's just so many processes and procedures that we need to follow here. And these people sitting at they're in the offices all the time, and they're driving lovely cars, and that's all they do is they just burden us with a whole lot of bureaucracy. And then we're still supposed to meet our production targets and our safety targets and everything else. And what are they actually doing? And all that we see is when we go to work, they're sitting in their offices, and all they're doing is writing more books that we need to follow. And then if we don't follow the rules in the books, we get into trouble. Is that all that top management do? And they just start creating more red tape and more red tape. They bring in suppliers underground, and new technologies have been implemented. And we're the guys down there at the bottom that have to deal with this. And when you're comfortable in your office upstairs, it's okay. But when I'm 2.5 kilometers underground and I'm having to manage all of your process, your procedures, the red tape, the experiments, and all those things, and you're holding me accountable to production targets as well and safety targets, it's going to be a little bit tough. It becomes very, very interesting. And what they saw in their top management, that their top management makes a lot of money. Okay, that's how the organization saw their top management. Project 4 and 5. So based on the information that came out, the vice president of the organization, I worked very closely with him and the executives, implemented visible felt leadership immediately. When this information hit him, he said, we have to do something about this now. We need to get our top management down in the mine, all over in the processing plants, etc., in the offices, into wherever our most important assets are. And we need to go and listen to them. We need to get into their hearts and minds. And Hearts and Minds was born to drive the safety behavior in the organization. And I just want to keep COVID in the back of our heads all the time, because visible felt leadership and research this, my talk is not about visible felt leadership in detail. It's spending time with people as management, listening to each other and having those conversations and supporting each other right across the organization. And we need to be doing that with our most important assets now. The guys and ladies are going through a hard time, all of us. I run my own companies. I've got people all around the world, and everybody's going through a hard time now. We need to have visible felt. We've got to feel for our people. Because if we feel for our people, we can then be honest with them, and we can be humble as leaders. So what the vice president did at that time, he called in his senior managers, and he said, we are now, for the next 6 weeks, every single day, one of us, two of us, three of us, they planned an itinerary. We are going to be down in these mines, and we're going to be talking to our most important and most valuable assets. We're going to go and spend time, and we're going to go and listen. And what we're going to try and accomplish out of 35,000 people in the organization, we want to try and remember everybody's name or know everybody's name, to the point that we want to know their kids, and their names, and we want to know what hobbies they play. Because if we can call 35,000 people by their first name, remember that their kids play soccer, etc., we're taking care of them. We're getting into the heart. When we get into the heart, behavior-based safety starts working, the behavior changes. When we try and massage the mind all the time and plug it with billboards and too much like social media, it just goes in one ear and it goes out the other. When we get into the heart, that's what makes a difference. And with COVID-19 now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get into the hearts of our employees or our most valuable assets. And that includes us as leaders. The organization needs to look at us and say, we've got hearts as well. We need to be taken care of too. Because remember, BBS is a partnership. It's not a top-down thing. It's together. And we need to get into the hearts. The minds, we've got that sorted out. We've got everything in place already. We need to get into the hearts. So if you look at the tactics that the senior management then put in place, and this was really, really clever. And it showed in the safety results and the SHE results, and we'll get to some of that stuff now, is we started a whole series of industrial theater. And we got professional actors in from television shows in South Africa. They were on stage at the recreation club on the mine. People were invited, and there were dramatic scenes displayed on that stage of people dying, people getting ill, people getting maimed and injured. And that really got to the hearts when people see the pain on theatre. We also, in the industrial theatre series, we got some of the families of the people that had died, that the money killed. We call it, they kill people, because you're accountable for these things. And the family spoke to the audience in those theatres and told us like to live without a father and the financial pressures and etc. And again, that's getting into your heart. We had CareShare. CareShare was a great initiative. The employees, most valued assets, I'm using it interchangeably now, we would go to different production facilities. It was a massive organization. So teams would go from one production facility 20 kilometers away to another and do management by walking around, visible felt leadership. And people from those production facilities would come to theirs, and we would start sharing what they seen, because sometimes you get tunnel vision and you don't see outside of your vision spectrum. And when somebody else addresses these things, you see it. And it's just a reminder that the decisions that you make and the way that you behave can cause somebody's family not to have food for a very long time. And that's getting into the hearts again. And what the organization did as well, it was really, really great, is that some of the employees had never ever traveled overseas, and there were conferences, safety conferences around the world. And they put people on airplanes and they flew them overseas to the conferences on condition that they had to come back and present what they had been taught and what they had learned at the conferences overseas. And again, it showed the entire organization that we care. We're willing to spend that money that you think's lying in our pockets all the time. Now, we deserve it sometimes because we work late hours for it. But it was the giving that the organization gave, and it resulted in huge amounts of increased performance. The other two pictures that you see on that slide, a huge screen was put up to the entrance of the mining operation. So just before the guys got to the turnstiles, there was this huge screen, and you could see it. I mean, it was so visible at night time. And it flashed through safety statistics for the previous shift, previous day. But every third slide on the big screen shows results of the soccer, the football score the previous day. Because that was saying, as leadership and management, we care about you. We care that there's a human side to us. We know that you watch soccer, and we understand that we play in this game together. And this created a lot of interesting conversations on the other side of the gate, and people would laugh about the soccer score, and we even had guys taking video shots of the soccer and streaming them up on those big screens. And it started creating a side that it's not only this mechanical, technical, mindset thing that we have to focus on all the time and get penetrated all the time. There's also a heart. There's also a other side to us. And if we touch the other side, which is the heart, we can get anything right. Now, I'm going to go back to COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to get into the hearts of our people. A lot of people are taking strain. As leaders, if you're sitting out there owning a business or in a leadership role, go and take care. If you're working for somebody and you're listening to this, go and take care of your manager or your boss, call it whatever you want to, because everybody needs support. Everybody needs that heartfelt warmth that we need to give each other. So what we then did is, as Project 6, we then displayed the SHE performance, the safety, health, environmental performance, on dashboards. So wherever you walked into the organization, into the offices, the main offices, wherever you were, even in the canteen, on the operations, these dashboards would be playing with obviously the soccer scores and etc. And it's the communication that was driving. And remember, we said it's partnership. So what we're going through with COVID-19 now, we need to do as partners and even as businesses together. Now, the next side that we want to chat about, remember in our case study, we were looking at the risk appetite. Now, if you look at mining, gold mining, I worked underground, I worked on surface, I worked very, very dangerous jobs on the mine. I'm thankful that I'm still here today, and I took many, many chances because I'm very risk prone. I'm willing to jump out of airplanes. I'm willing to do all these things. But if we look at risk appetite, 15,000 miners are killed every year, and this is just the official number, most likely more. And I've added Mount Kilimanjaro in there as well. Mount Kilimanjaro is most probably one of the most dangerous things you would do in your life. 1,000 people are evacuated from the mountain, approximately 10 deaths per annum. The actual number of deaths could be higher. And I think this is what it's telling us here, is maybe the numbers aren't being reported correctly. On the top and the bottom, the mining and the climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. We also got to look at the COVID numbers as well. Can we believe the information that we're getting? I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, when we give it's to the heart. Because if we hear something that is not true or distorted, we lose confidence. And you don't want your most valued assets or your most important assets to lose trust in you as management. And the same as management losing trust in your most valued assets to getting the wrong information. So communication and information is power to create that partnership that is important for behavioral-based safety and our SHE performance measures to happen. Now, the reason why I showed you those two pictures is you've got force risk, in my opinion. This is what I've written, it's my methodology, and choice risk. Now, I've worked underground, as I've said, and I've climbed Kilimanjaro twice. The first time I was a breeze, and the second time I almost died up on the mountain. Force risk, and I see choice risk. Now, when I was in the military, I was forced to accept risk. I had no option. And in organizations, we sometimes apply this on our most valued assets. And force risk, procedures and SOPs are forced upon us. Forced behavior, forced peer pressure, forced bravery, forced safety partnership, where we as individuals, when I was in the military, I was forced to take risks. It wasn't my choice. We need to be very, very cautious as leaders of businesses, especially with COVID-19 on our plate now, that we don't force people into areas that we put in them at risk. If we wear masks, wear your mask. If you need to wash your hands every 5 minutes, wash your hands every 5 minutes. Don't expect your production targets to be over-exceeded when we're going through something like this. So it's a balance we need to strike in terms of, let's call it Kevin's triangle. We're going to see it right at the end. What is choice risk? Now, I went on a magic certification, and something that I learned and is deeply embedded in my mind is the 8 emotional drivers, as designed by Arthur Kumasi. Very interesting. I want you to look at that risk side, and I want you to look at the emotional drivers. What's in our hearts as individuals, and what drives us. And I'm going to give you an idea of what drives me and the results they are. So the first emotional driver is love and belonging. The second is security and control. The third is diversity and change. The fourth is recognition and significance, excellence, challenge, achievement, responsibility, and contribution. Now, those are the 8 emotional drivers as designed by Arthur Kumasi. Now, if I look at myself, and in any individual, we always look at the top 3. My first is achievement, second is recognition and significance, and the third is challenge. So I am willing to take risk as an individual. My love and belonging in this control, that's lower down. So I'm a highly risk-prone person. I climb mountains, I jumped out of airplanes. When somebody says, let's go and climb Mount Everest, my son and myself are now planning the trip. Some people are risk-averse. They don't want to do those things. So we need to understand the risk appetite. We also need to understand these emotional drivers. And the research that I've done, we are born with genes. There's papers out there, there's lots of research out there that, people that take risks, it's in their genes as well. So risk appetite, emotional drivers, and what's in our genes. Take COVID-19 into account, I'll most probably go to a pub and I most probably won't wear my mask. I'm in Malaysia and I'll find 1,000 ringgit if I don't wear my mask, but I am willing to take risks. We need to understand that risk appetite as per the case study that I showed you as well, and what drives our most valued assets, emotions, what drives them. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, because 9 minutes ago we're almost done, is production push. Again, I'll talk a case study. Christmas 1997, okay, 25th of December. I was a manager of a huge mining operation. Okay, that's actually the picture of the place. It was raining that specific day. Never ever forget, because I got very wet. And people didn't arrive for work, and I had contractors doing certain mining. And I scolded the operator, the contractor, and I told him he needs to get his act together. And he said he's going to go and find some people. And he went and found people on the side of the road, beggars, and loaded them on the back of his vehicle, brought them to the mine, and they started mining. Gave them a quick course, and they started mining. And 20 minutes later, a gentleman's hand was ripped off. I had to drive him in a front-end loader 13 kilometers to a hospital while he was bleeding in a front-end loader's bucket, because we couldn't get him out with any other vehicles because the rain was so bad. Now, why did I make those choices? Well, do I stop production or do I push production? So now we're sitting with this pressure in organization, and that's, my BBS triangle. It's going, I need to meet production targets, I need to meet safety targets, and I need to meet management's expectations around everything else that needs to happen. So what comes first? What decision am I going to make? Now, if I'm risk prone and certain things drive my emotions and I'm under huge pressure, I might make the wrong decisions, or I'll most probably make the risky decisions, like I did that night. I almost killed somebody because of that decision of mine. And even past that day, when that incident happened, I've still made those risky decisions. So we also need to look at leadership and say, what is your risk appetite? Are you risk prone or risk averse? Because you're having to make decisions. Again, as with COVID-19 on our laps at this point in time, as leaders, we need to make some hard decisions here. We need to make risky decisions. Do we let go of production targets? Do we trim 20% off? And everybody's going to say we can't. We've just been knocked 3 months on our backs. We need to catch up again. But we've let people go, but we're back on our feet again. We need to meet those production targets. We need to exceed. Now we all need to wear more PPE. We have to, it's just going to be a little bit more difficult for us to work. Be very, very cautious that we walk into a trap. We need to sit back. We need to look at our organization strategically, remap our strategy, reshape the strategy, and then move forward. We've got to take a breather and make sure that we are making the right safe decisions for our organization and our people. Coming back to the behavior-based safety iron triangle of Kevin, what is priority here? We've got this organization in congruence. We need to make sure that we bring employees and management closer together. That's a given. All right. We need to understand the risk appetite and the emotional drivers. I think it adds a huge amount of value. And then we've got to set proper production targets that are fair for people to achieve, especially under this pressure that we are under this point in time. So my advice to any organization is, no matter what acronym you're using, SHE, OSH, QSHEC, I'll facilitate lots of things. I see all the acronyms. I think we all understand what they are. Add an S in front of every single one of them and start with strategy. Strategy, quality, safety, health, environment. Strategy, quality, safety, health. Strategy, health, environment, safety. Strategy, environment, safety, health. Focus on strategy. We need to drive the message to our most valued assets in an organization, why we exist. We need to get into the hearts. We need to put our most valued assets right on top of our strategic statements, and we need to value and we need to create that care for our most valued assets. And I think we must stop calling them people, laborers, and whatever the case may be. That's Kev's opinion, and I'll stick by it for the rest of my life, because I've been on the other side of poor leadership, and it's not nice. I'm sure a lot of you have as well. So please make sure that the organization understands your strategy and let everybody in the organization know that they are the ones that make it happen. It's not you as leaders only that make it happen. They make it happen with you. It's that partnership of BBS. Okay, so risk and our emotional drivers. We need to understand the organization's risk appetite. We need to, when we employ people into our organization, we need to employ the right fit. And we hear this all the time, but it's something that we need to take cognizance of. We need to assess people's risk appetite in different job work. Understand their emotional drivers when we do employ. Revisit our policies and procedures and our standard operating procedures. Make them easier. Don't create red tape, because people will break the rules and then it becomes we can't deal with the mind, we can't deal with the heart. Let's work with our people to create a lean organization, a lean Six Sigma type organization, and reset realistic production targets for the organization and take the pressure off the organization now, at least most probably for the next year until we get through COVID-19. We need pressure, and we need to understand the organization's stress immunity, because we are all stressed at this moment due to COVID-19, and we expect it to deliver on all the other promises as well. So we need to take care of the heart, ladies and gentlemen, seriously. All right, so my last 5 giveaways, and this now focuses down into the tactics of BBS. The major objective of BBBS is driving a safe behavior. It must be a habit. You can only do that if you get into the heart. All right? Positive reinforcement time. Anybody that's watching this now wants an attaboy. And an attaboy is a pat on the back. Everybody, all of us, we're all humans. That's one of the things that drive us, emotions. Remember, we saw the emotion drive. Everybody wants a pat on the back. And we've got to give recognition where due. We've got to coach, we've got to mentor, with visible felt leadership, we've got to be there with and for our people, our most valued assets. Okay. We need to list supported behaviors. Management needs to set the pace. Management must not turn a blind eye when something's unsafe. And I've been there. I've turned a blind eye, turned away, went back to my office and hoped that nothing happens. Why? Because of the production pressure. I think all of us have been there somewhere along the line. Need to get to the hearts, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody must have a role. We can't leave it only to safety reps and safety stewards and the risk managers and so forth. Everybody needs to take ownership. It needs to be in your job descriptions and in your KPIs in terms of your role. It needs to be written into your job description. Training, training, and training. And I'm going to say it again. And training and training and positive reinforcement. And training today is something I've learned recently in working with Arthur. Gamification and simulation. That's the way to accelerate our learning, because 90% of what we retain happens through simulation. So let's focus on simulated safety behavior-based training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 10 seconds to go. There's my email address and all those good things. We'll make this available to you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Ending, it's all about the heart, and then we can go and sort the mind out. We can't just focus on the mind and leave the heart. And I thank you for listening to me today, and I think we're ready and open for questions.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Wow, it was a great session.
Thank you, Lily. I'm very passionate about the subject.
Yes, I did. We have like 5-6 questions that are being raised. I'm not sure if we have time for all. Come, let's try. There's this one question. Can you see the screen? From Sharma Prasad Goswami. And he's asking, Kevin, enjoying your talk. Safety first culture many companies try to practice. Then it becomes more ornamental than real. What we need to do to make safety and empathy as real culture now.
You couldn't have said it better. Thank you. I can't pronounce your name. I'm going to call you Shyam. It's exactly what I've been saying, and you're so right. It just can't be this thing you do every month, and we have a party and we give out a couple of T-shirts. No, it's empathy, it's love, it's cherishing our most valuable asset. We've got to live that as leaders, and our most valuable asset. We must stop calling people employees, laborers, and staff. They are our most valuable assets. Our production facilities and machines and that are not our most valued assets. Our people are. And we need to get to the hearts, and they need to believe us, and we need to believe in them. Very good presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. GD. Multi-purpose cleaner.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I think we got time for one more question. Due to COVID-19, will the automation and mechanization of production-related activities be accelerated, like the humanless production?
Yes. Interesting question, and whoever asked that question, very clever. I'm working with a client now where a while back they initiated a portfolio and a program called humanless mining. Okay. All right, humanless mining. The unions kicked back against it and said, humanless? You mean you're going to take jobs away? Stop that. They've ignited that entire program right now because of COVID-19. They're going, well, this is now the reason to go and do it. Let's get mechanization. Let's get our robots. All the stuff that they had worked on, they want to get it back in. And now it's going to be the negotiation with the unions and so forth. Now, I think what's going to happen is now who wants to behave now? So you didn't want to behave before. We're actually been pushed into the scenario now. So, if we don't allow mechanization, whatever, how are you going to change your behavior that we don't do it? Because then we won't bring mechanization. But I believe it's going to happen. It's going to have hopefully a hybrid. But we have to change our behavior as individuals, otherwise those machines will take over. That's what I have to say. Well done, whoever asked that question.
Thank you. Well, I think we have to stop here, and it is really wonderful, Kevin, to have you. That was a great sharing.
All right, thank you, Lily. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for having me, and God bless everybody. And look after your most valued assets, please.